Okay, so as people arrive, we'll go ahead and let them in, but we want to go ahead and get started. It is very nice to have everybody here. So welcome to JCS's virtual workshop this afternoon or this evening. Today we are going to be talking about developing a routine for your family, the structure or creating structure while staying at home. So we understand that there are a lot of complicated situations with everyone staying at home. So we want to go ahead and give that information to you all, hopefully to help you all develop a better structure and routine in your homes. My name is Christina Lalama, and I am the project director of the PACT initiative. And I'll give you a little bit more information on that. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, as well as the project director for the project PACT. So just a little information, a little housekeeping as well. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you have questions, feel free to write your questions down in the chat, and my co-host will be helping me to answer some of those questions towards the end of the workshop. We will do our best to answer as many questions as we can, and we'll be answering them in the order in which we receive them. So JCS, just a little history on JCS in case you didn't know. Jewish Community Services has been serving South Florida for 100 years. And we have services and programming available for people in all ages and stages of life. Our programs include everything from counseling to services like food banks and things of that nature. We also work very closely with our 211 program. 211 is a program where we provide information to people about social services, where people can get connected with help that's available in their communities. And the services of 211, connecting people with services, is free. So you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The program that I supervise and that I oversee is called PACT. And the PACT initiative is providing adolescents and children with trauma-informed treatment. That program specifically works with children ages 6 through 17 who have experienced some type of trauma. So that trauma can include any type of abuse, whether it's physical abuse or sexual abuse. It can also be abandonment issues, grief, children who have experienced community violence, been separated from their parents, their caregivers, their families, children who have endured domestic violence. All of those children can be treated under the PACT program. The work that we do in PACT includes individual therapy with parent components, which means that the parent or caregiver is part of that treatment. They will be receiving information, they'll get tips and feedback on how to manage the behaviors that their children are exhibiting. We use an evidence-based model, trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy, and the services in the PACT program are delivered by licensed clinicians. We are also very proud to offer those services in English and in Spanish. For more information on JCS and other programs that we have available, you are welcome to visit our website, jcsfl.org. And so we'll go right into our workshop this afternoon, which is about routines. Now, some people may not think about routines very definitively, but they are all around us. And now during this time that we are all staying at home and we are all together, it's a lot more important to have those routines ready and ready in order to keep us on schedule. So first thing we want to think about and have very clear in our minds is what is a routine and why is it important? So a routine is a way or an order in which we do things. We do things normally in the same way every single time. So think about the way when you wake up in the morning and what is your morning routine? You may wake up and maybe take a quick shower, brush your teeth, have some coffee, and then get dressed and go to work. So those kinds of things are a routine, although we don't think of it that way. Routines help us to feel more in control of everything because we know what we are supposed to do and we know how much we want to get done. They help us make room for things that are important so we can prioritize things, we can shift things around as we need to on a day-by-day basis so that we can finish the tasks that we want to do. They also help us to cope with change. So when things come into play that are different from our regular schedules, we are able to look at everything we have to do and reprioritize as necessary. As adults, it's pretty simple for us because we understand we have responsibilities and we know that we just have to make things work. For children, however, it's a bit of a struggle. They don't always know why something is more important than others or why we couldn't go, let's say, to the park or watch a video when we wanted to. So it's important for us as parents and caregivers to teach our children why those routines are important and how it is that they can go about making those changes so it works for them. On top of everything else, the routines help us to reduce our stress levels. When we know what's expected of us, when we know what the outcome is supposed to be in something, it helps us to feel a little bit more calm and in control. So we feel a lot more comfortable with what is expected of us and what we are finishing and how we have to do the tasks that we have to do on a daily basis. Routines also give us a sense of safety and belonging. When we have an organized and predictable home environment, children and teenagers feel safe. Now, some parents and caregivers have mentioned that children don't like things in order. They like to just do things whenever they feel like it. They think because their child fights back, it's a sign that the routine or some kind of structure will not work. However, what we want to point out is that even though they may fight you on it, it's important for you to stand your ground on this one. It's important for you to say, I know that you'd rather play or you'd rather watch a video game, but homework has to be done first, or whatever the situation is in your home. They help teenagers feel safe because it helps them to understand what's expected of them. It helps them to feel secure and looked after. They're not going to have something pop out unexpectedly at them because they know exactly what is to come. Especially for families and children who have experienced some kind of trauma or are used to having stressful times in their homes, such as what we're going through right now. It's difficult for them because their regular routine of going to school or meeting up with friends or playing in the park has been disturbed. So now being at home, it's important for all of us to make the time and to be able to structure that so that we still have some time for some of the fun activities that we want to do. Routines can also be about spending time together and about fun times. So they're not always about chores and they're not always about homework. Routines can be as simple as, for example, family movie night. Maybe we plan that every Friday night at 5, we all turn off our homework or we turn off other responsibilities and we just sit together as a family and watch a movie. So routines can also be fun. So it's not always negative or punitive or anything as people may think. So we're going to find out today how routines can also benefit us and how they'll help us overall. Routines can be a way of teaching children healthy habits. So think about how we start teaching our younger children as young as maybe age 2 to brush their teeth. We want them to brush their teeth twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, or maybe after every meal, depending on how you teach them. When they understand the reasons for it, that it keeps their teeth healthy, they're more likely to do it. Also, the younger they start a routine, the more likely they are to keep that routine going. This also goes for taking medicines regularly or getting some exercise, spending time with friends, calling people. All of those things can be part of healthy habits. This means that routines can be good for children's health. Let's take a minute and think about the stuff that's going on right now. Up until about earlier this part of year, we weren't hearing about washing your hands all the time. Now, however, we see the signs all the time. People are telling us to wash our hands and to sanitize. So by getting children and ourselves used to these new habits, we're actually promoting healthy situations for the future. Just a few years back, people used to drive without seatbelts. When the mandates for using seatbelts were put into place, a lot of people had a hard time getting used to that. Once they got used to using the seatbelts and understanding that those seatbelts were very, very important for keeping them safe in a car, it's now second nature. Many people get right in the car and buckle their seatbelts without a second thought. So children also, like we said, those daily routines also help people to become more aware of what they need. That can be hunger. So if you eat at the same time every day, if you are late one day in eating, your stomach starts to rumble. So it starts to remind you that you need to eat something. Your body is on a routine. Same thing goes with sleep. Bedtime routines help children's bodies know when it's time to go to sleep. And we all know it as parents too. Maybe they get a little cranky, or maybe they aren't thinking clearly, or they're mumbling to themselves. So we know it's time for them to sleep. It's important for children to know that when they are experiencing those symptoms, they understand that it's time for their body to go to sleep. So these routines, again, help them to understand that it's important for them, and it's not just mom or dad or grandma saying that they have to do something, it's also their body doing something. Children will then learn to honor themselves and honor that situation or honor that circumstance that their body is going through. So as you can see, routines are really, really embedded in the way that we think and do things on a daily basis. It's real important for us to understand how good they can be for us and how helpful they can be. They can also be very important for children in learning these great habits going forward. So skills and responsibility are something that children have to develop over time. It's not something we should spring on them when they start turning, when they turn 13 or when they become adolescents. It's something we need to instill in them from the time they are very young. And believe it or not, the routines that we put in place as young children will help them as they grow up into adults. So having chores to do in the family, in family routines, helps children and teenagers to develop that sense of responsibility. What we're saying when we develop those routines and we give them off the tasks to the children, we're telling them that we trust them to complete those tasks. We usually will give them a time frame to complete that task. For example, if you tell your teenager that they have to wash the dishes before they go to bed, and bedtime is at 10 o'clock. They know that they can wash the dishes anytime from after dinner, maybe at 7, all the way until about 9:30 they have until to wash the dishes. However, it's up to them to know how much time they'll need and to get their job done on time. When children can do their part of the routine and they get practice in it and they get used to doing it, you can back up a little bit and have less and less intervention with those children. That means that the child develops a sense of independence and it helps them to feel accomplished. So let's look at a quick list of some example tasks that children can do at different ages. So as young as 2 years old, children can start to help out with picking up their toys. It shouldn't be anybody else's responsibility except the child's. The child can help mom or help grandma or whoever's watching that child to pick up toys and put them in a specific location. It's pretty simple. They learn then that after they play with something, they need to put things back. From ages 4 to 5, they can help out with laundry. They can start matching socks or even sorting the clothing, darks and white clothing, so that they learn about that skill going forward. They can help feed or take care of pets. They can pour water into the bowl or maybe put a scoop of the food into their pet's food bowl. So they can be very helpful. And the little secret, which I'm sure a lot of you parents already know, is that children that young, they are very, very eager to help. They want to do these chores. So it's important for you to go ahead and assign things that are easy for them to do and easy for them to accomplish. From ages 6 to 8, children can begin to collect trash around the house and help with gathering it so that it can be taken outside. They can help to fold and put away laundry. So they may not be in charge of the entire load of laundry, but maybe they can sit with you and help you fold it while they put it away. Now, once we hit 9 to 12 years old, those children and adolescents can help with bigger chores that maybe don't need your supervision at all. For example, washing the car. You also can have them wash dishes, load the dishwasher, prepare simple meals like make sandwiches or salads, and they can also help with cleaning the bathroom. So these are tasks, again, that you can assign that maybe don't have to be done every day, but even if they're done once a week, it's on their calendar and it's their responsibility to make sure that that task gets done. Now, your child that's 13 years old and over really is always complaining, I'm sure, that they want to be treated like an adult. Well, a lot of those, the way that we can treat them or consider them more like an adult would be to give them chores and make sure that they finish them on time. They should, by this age, be able to do their own laundry. They maybe have a designated day where they have to do their laundry, which includes washing, drying, and folding and putting it away. They can wash windows for you. They can bake, follow a recipe. They can prepare meals. So again, whatever level of comfort you have with your child and the responsibilities you'd like them to take, it's important to assign those tasks. Now remember, just because we put a list here and we know that children typically are capable of doing that, doesn't mean that they automatically know what to do. There is a period of instruction where a parent or caregiver should be teaching their child how to manage these tasks. You teach them how you want the car cleaned. You teach them which soap and which softener to use in the laundry. So again, your instruction and your feedback is very, very important. Another point of caution, we don't want to use this opportunity to compare children or teens with others. For example, maybe your teenager only does, maybe they only wash the car, whereas your best friend's son, who is the same age as yours, washes the car, cleans the pool, and goes grocery shopping once a week. We don't want to use this opportunity to compare the two youth. What we want to do is focus on what your child can do, what you've assigned them to do, and that they are doing that successfully. So parents and caregivers. Now, this sounds like a lot of extra work, I'm sure. And a lot of you are probably thinking, you know, why should I put this routine in place? The routine, as we mentioned earlier, helps the children with their self-esteem, with their sense of responsibility, and with skills development. But it also helps you. Routines can be great for parents and caregivers because it takes some of the load off of you. So the routines are going to take some effort to create, as we just talked about, but once you've set them up and once the child understands what's expected of them, you're going to have a lot of benefits. For example, they're going to help you get through your daily tasks. And how much more important is it than right now that we are working from home and the children are learning from home, and some children are just at home because there's no daycare or camp. It's important for those routines so that all of us can get our tasks done successfully. Regular and consistent routines can help you feel like you are accomplishing your parenting goals. So you may think to yourself in the morning that you have a lot of things to do. You have a meeting to participate in, you have a report due, but your son also needs help with one of his English essays, and your daughter needs help with one of her science projects, and the little one wants to watch cartoons and can't turn on the TV. It's okay to set it up and schedule it so that you are able to help everybody with what they have to do, assign tasks to them so they can complete them, and then you check in later. When life gets busy, the routines help you feel more organized, they help you feel more in control, and that is going to reduce your levels of stress. Those routines are going to free you from having to also resolve disputes. As we know, children often get into arguments and they get into fights over things. When we assign tasks to our children and our youth, they are able to negotiate with one another. Siblings are great at this. They'll usually trade off, you know, I'll wash the dishes for you tonight if you wash the car for me over the weekend. And sometimes that's convenient for both of them, and they'll negotiate or haggle that situation into a better one that works for everybody. And at that point, parents can step back. So long as the 2 people or 3 people that are involved in that are in agreement, it's just fine. Let them work it out. This is teaching them those skills of negotiation, of compromise, and they learn to honor and respect each other's needs and each other's space. So a couple of ideas, and we'll go through these not in too much detail, but for toddlers and preschoolers, some ideas for daily routines include getting ready in the morning. So maybe they get up in the morning, they brush their teeth, they brush their hair, they get dressed, they mismatch their clothes, but that's okay, so long as they're ready to go, or at least ready to, you know, face the day. Maybe they eat their meals at a certain chair, or they get their own spoon before they sit down at the table. Spending time, so understanding when playtime is, when reading time is, and when bedtime is. Giving the child that understanding that there are certain times for certain things will also help them to manage their mood and their behaviors a lot more effectively. School-age children are a little bit more familiar with routines because they've been going to school at this point. So now getting ready in the morning and going to bed at night is part of their daily routine. Also preparing their backpacks, for example, to go to school the next day, or setting their books up at their Learn at Home station. Cleaning up their toys or games after they're finished playing, setting up space and time for completing homework assignments or projects, and after-school activities, which in our new stay-at-home situation might include using a table or the dining room table for crafts, playing video games, or setting up time so they can chat with friends and family that they haven't seen. Teenagers usually have a little bit more flexibility when we were still attending school and having activities outside. During these times, it's a little more difficult, so it's important for us to be flexible with our teenagers and see things from their point of view. They may need, specific times to do homework. You still need to be sure that they are waking up on time to do their homework and to attend classes. But maybe their after-school activities, once everything is finished, needs to be monitored a little bit more by you, in the sense that if there are younger siblings around, maybe you need to make sure that that the teenager gets their separate space and time so that they can talk with their friends or play video games or do other hobbies that they might want to do without being interrupted. So the whole family can also be part of this routine, because once everybody's got everything taken care of and they've done all the things that are expected of them, they can definitely prepare meals together or eat together. We are spending more time at home together these days, so it's important, again, for us to have some time that isn't being distracted by homework or buzzing phones or meetings that we have to attend. So preparing and eating meals together is one way to do that. Spending family time, like having movie nights, family meetings, maybe to resolve certain situations. There are cases, or there are situations where families, one or two members of a family, need to leave the house to go to work in their office or another location. So perhaps coordinating and making sure that everybody is able to cover the different areas that need to be covered, that some children are being watched at home by one caregiver while the other one has to leave the house. Spending one-to-one time with parents. So again, this is hard, being that we are all in our stay at home. However, it is still important for us to figure out a way to maybe utilize one of our extra rooms, whether it be a bedroom or going out in the backyard, and having some check-ins with children on an individual basis. This helps them to remember that you are always there for them, that you'll listen to them, and that you can help them or listen to them as they work through problems. Catching up with extended family and friends, calling relatives that we aren't able to see right now, or having them call their friends and chat, FaceTime with their friends is important. So again, respecting those boundaries, giving them a little quiet time so they're able to do that is going to be important. And taking part in special celebration days or activities. Now that we're doing a lot of activities virtually, we can still do some activity things online, and we can do them together as a family. So that's important for us to keep in mind as we move into this whole virtual world. We can still do activities together, even though we are apart at this time. So just a recap for today's workshop: involve your child. So I know that we're thinking about assigning them a chore or a task, and you're thinking, oh, they're going to say they don't like to do anything. So it's not about their liking it, but it's more about them understanding how they can make that task work for them. It's going to give them that sense of responsibility and that sense of control. Involve other caregivers, whether it be a spouse, your partner, or grandparents, whoever lives in the home or has active interaction with those children, because they're the ones that are going to help you to monitor the child's progress and also help you to make sure that the child gets that routine done. Consider your child's abilities when planning. Not everybody is good, for example, at washing dishes, but maybe somebody's a lot better at mowing the lawn or sweeping the house. So it's okay for you to trade off certain tasks if a child feels like they are more capable of doing one of the other ones. Be flexible. Now remember that sometimes we fall off schedule. If the internet goes out, maybe we weren't able to finish that homework assignment on time. So we'll have to do it the next day, and it may interfere with other plans. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just something that we need to adjust and be flexible with so that we can move on and get back on track. Keep in mind that setting up a routine for yourself, for your family, and for your children takes time and it takes some work, but it does, in the end, benefit everybody. So that concludes our workshop today on setting up a routine for your family. At this time, we'll go ahead and take some questions. And I'm going to turn to my co-host to let me know if there are any questions from our audience that we can possibly answer. Heather?
There are no questions yet, but if anybody would like to post a question in the chat, please do so now. All right, we have a question. Question, Christina. I give my 3-year-old responsibility, but my husband thinks she's too young, so she doesn't follow through. Any suggestions?
Yes, so this was part of where, and it's a question that comes up a lot when we have multiple, or two parents or multiple adults in the household that are watching someone. So some people have questioned, even when I had that list of starting with 2-year-olds having tasks, some people have questioned, is that too young? Everything is about trial and error. We're not going to have a 2-year-old wash dishes or a 3-year-old wash dishes, but picking up after themselves, putting their toys in a box, putting their shoes in the closet are completely adequate chores for a young child of that age to do. This is why one of the steps we mentioned was for parents to get together and talk about what they expect for their child. It's important that these tasks are done early. please talk about it with your partner and let them know that it's important for a child to start developing some of these skills. That although you can help them and you can sit with them and guide them through it, they still need to do a large part of that task on their own. So we gave a good example, for example, picking up toys, because toddlers tend to be playing most of the day. Those are things that are very, very helpful to them. And it's important that children see that their parents, when it's two parents in the home, that they see that those parents are aligned. In other words, that they both agree with each other in order to not disempower one or the other. So we want the child to know that what mom and dad, or what mom and grandma, or whoever the adults are that take care of that child, is what the child has to adhere to. So the important thing here is to come to an agreement between the adults before we put that task on the child. And if you disagree, separate from the child and talk about it privately so the child doesn't see that power struggle between mom and dad.
Thank you, Christina. Are there any other questions for Christina this evening?
I really hope that this was a helpful workshop, and we are here to answer your questions. So go ahead and type your questions into the chat. You may see the chat bubble right at the top or at the bottom of your screen. Just go ahead and feel free to ask questions while we are still here, and we are able to answer those questions live for you.
Christina, it seems there are no further questions at this time. For everyone, I posted our website in the chat again for your reference, jcsfl.org. Feel free to visit our website for more information about our programs and services.
Thank you, Heather. So on behalf of JCS, I want to say good night and good luck to everybody. Please stay safe and tune in next week when we'll be talking about recognizing children's anxiety during this pandemic and across just other situations. We hope to see you next week, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.